Today, we're diving into a spiritual text that's hundreds of years old. But you know what? It offers a surprisingly sharp diagnosis for a problem that feels incredibly modern: a divided will.
You know that feeling, right? You have a clear goal. Maybe it's eating healthier, being more patient with your family, or finally finishing that big project. But then you find yourself pulled off course by 1,000 tiny little distractions. Why does our will feel so weak sometimes?
Well, it turns out this fascinating guide from the 1500s says the problem isn't a lack of desire. It's actually having too much desire, just scattered in all the wrong places. And the author has a special name for these distracting desires: the appetites.
So what exactly are these appetites? Think of them as any impulse or craving for something that isn't your main chosen purpose. Here's an analogy. Imagine your goal is a big, roaring bonfire. The appetites are all those little sparks flying off in every direction. Each spark carries away a little bit of heat, a little bit of energy, and leaves that central fire just a bit weaker.
And this is where we see the first major problem with giving in to all these scattered appetites. You end up with a will that's basically at war with itself.
The core idea here is that when your will gets split, your energy just gets spread too thin. The text compares it to hot water left uncovered. It loses its heat and becomes lukewarm. A focused will is a powerful thing. A scattered one is just weak.
The author really hammers this home, saying that real strength comes from a united will, not one that's wasted on trifles. And to make the point crystal clear, they use this brilliant metaphor.
Just stop and picture that for a second. You've got a bucket and you're trying to fill it up, but it's riddled with tiny holes. It doesn't matter how much water you pour in, right? It's never going to get full. All that energy, all that effort just drains away through these little insignificant leaks.
And that's the knockout punch right there. The appetites cause us to be poured out like water. They stop us from building any momentum, from gaining any height, from getting stronger on the path we've chosen. Every little indulgence is just another leak in the bucket.
But it gets even more intense. The author's imagery escalates, because these appetites aren't just passive leaks. Oh no. They're active, almost parasitic forces that are draining our vitality.
We get this comparison. A virtuous soul is like a healthy fruit-bearing tree. But a soul that's full of these appetites, that's like a tree being choked out by all these little shoots growing at its base, sucking up all the water and nutrients before they can ever reach the main trunk.
And just when you think the tree metaphor is bad enough, the author takes it up another notch. To really drive home the danger, the imagery shifts from a plant sapping nutrients to something way more, well, visceral.
This reveals the next level of harm. These appetites aren't just competing for resources anymore. Nope, they are actively feeding on our spiritual lifeblood. They are leeches, literally draining our energy, our focus, our will to keep going.
And the thing about them is they are never satisfied. They are insatiable. This line just captures their nature perfectly. It's this constant nagging cry of give, give, always demanding more, pulling our life force away from what actually matters.
All right, for the final metaphor in this section, brace yourself, because it's pretty dark. Unchecked appetites are compared to the offspring of vipers. Back then, it was believed they literally ate their way out of their mother's womb, killing her. It's a stark warning. If you let these small desires grow, they can end up consuming the very soul that gave them life.
So we've seen how these appetites weaken us and drain us. But what does that actually feel like day to day? Well, this ancient guide says it turns virtue into a heavy, joyless burden.
Let's bring this into our world for a second. Have you ever felt that sense of burnout, where even things you used to love just feel like a chore? Where you feel like you're just going through the motions? This 16th century text is describing that exact feeling. The result of being drained by these appetites is that doing good things starts to feel like a total drag. It feels slow, heavy, even depressing. The very things that are supposed to bring us joy and fulfillment get poisoned by the constant pull of all these other little desires.
The author really puts this in perspective with a startling comparison. They say a divided will makes trying to live a good life feel more difficult than a physical illness makes the simple act of walking. That's a profound statement on the psychological weight of being so distracted.
Okay, so the diagnosis sounds pretty bleak, right? A scattered will is weak, it's drained, it's joyless. But, and this is a big but, the text doesn't just leave us there. It points toward a really powerful solution.
And this is probably the most critical takeaway of the whole thing. The goal is not to become some passionless robot. It's not about getting rid of desire. It's about collecting all of that scattered energy, all that passion, and unifying it, aiming it at a single worthy purpose.
This simple line is offered as the perfect antidote. Instead of letting your strength be poured out like water through 1,000 different leaks, the fix is to consciously gather it and direct it. "I will keep my strength for you" is basically a declaration of a focused, unified will.
So, if you take one thing from this whole ancient guide, let it be this. A strong will is a focused will. Real power, real virtue, real joy, they aren't found in satisfying every little whim, but in channeling all of our desire toward the one thing we've decided truly matters.
And that brings us right back here to our modern world, a world literally designed to create and feed a million tiny appetites every single day. With endless notifications and choices pulling for our attention, what are the leaks in your own bucket? And maybe more importantly, where's your strength really being kept?